Good day, folks. This is Derek in New York City, coming to you live and direct. Now, I would like to touch on the recent terrorist acts that has taken place in Dagestan and Tajikistan, if I'm correct. Anyway, the terrorist attacks that occurred in Russia recently, cluster bomb and actual terrorist attacks where the police got involved and several police were killed and hundreds of civilians were injured from the cluster bombings, etc. So we had two major terrorist attacks in Russia, orchestrated by the USA and their allies in Europe, because the munitions were supplied to Ukraine and to the terrorists by America and her allies in Europe. So America is responsible for those acts. She aided and abetted the people who performed or executed those acts, making her guilty. Now, Mr. Putin has been telling the world, or telling his enemies in America and Europe and elsewhere, Britain and Canada, etc., those who chose to make him an enemy, that he is serious and he will resort to using nuclear weapons if the need arises, if his sovereignty is threatened. Well, your sovereignty is threatened now. There was a direct act or actions perpetrated by the enemy on your territory. So your sovereignty is directly threatened. It's not the Donbass regions that recently came on board, but it is the heart of Russia. So are you going to continue making threats and talking, Mr. Putin? Or are you going to set an example? I'm not telling you to fire a nuclear missile, but like you said, there are tactical nukes that can be used to make a statement. It can be just as effective. Use wisely, tactical nukes can make a statement and can be a source of deterrence. You use a few of those tactfully as specific targets in the enemy's own territory, and let them know that you're serious. We're tired of hearing the threats and the talk and the talk and the talk and the summoning of ambassadors and all of that and the complaints. The West is not taking you seriously. America and her allies are not taking you seriously, Mr. Putin. They think you're bluffing. It is said that Russians don't bluff. But I always believe words is words. Anyone can say anything. Action is what convinces me. When you talk, you can talk, people talk, they say anything they want to say, truth or false. It's just empty words. It convinces some and it amuses others. But for me personally, I judge a person by what he or she does. If you feel your sovereignty, your people are threatened in this direct fashion, action must be taken. I think the time for talking is over. This is time for action. How much longer will you condone or tolerate these terrorist acts on territories of Russia, whether it's in the Crimea, the Donbass, or in the heart of Russia itself, Moscow or Tajikistan or other regions? How much longer are you going to tolerate these acts and merely accuse Russia and merely accuse Ukraine of getting help from America and their allies? We all know what is happening. We all know who's behind these attacks. We all know who's the brains behind these attacks coming from Ukraine. So why are you continuing to talk and to make threats? Why are you continuing to keep talking and making threats without acting? You've been bombing the life hell out of the Ukrainian regions that you're moving and making good progress in the war, in the special operation. But you've got to get beyond that. You cannot hurt them only in that part of their region. You've got to hurt them in the NATO regions. You've got to hurt them in the NATO countries, in the US and Britain and those places where these arms and munitions originate. You got to hit them, those factories, those railways, those ships, military or otherwise. You got to hit them. Sink a few, destroy a few. Let them know that you know where it's coming from and you have the ability to destroy it. Until you do so, you'll be the laughing stock with these people. they wouldn't take you seriously at all. This is time to act, Mr. Putin. The time to act is now. We've had enough talking and threats. We support your decision to act, and the decision is now. It must be done swiftly, decisively, and convincingly. I shall stop here.